seeking and looking forward to the opportunities for us to be able to make a difference.
I started with Charlotte County Utilities as a meter reader in 2004. So that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. Then once I reached a point in my life where things were more stable, I decided to leave Charlotte County Utilities and I went and got my insurance license. It was very exciting doing that for a short period of time. But after a while, I started thinking about the utility. It was in my heart. At this point, I had almost 12, just 2 months shy of 12 years in. And so I realized during that time, my heart was in utilities. And so I started looking around again. I seen an opening here to be a C&D tech. So I applied and I got in. Typically I get here at 7 in the morning. I get my list of, if I can get to this is what I need to do. And I get in my truck. If I need any supplies, parts, tools based off of the work I was given that morning, I'll pick that up here at our shop. And then I head out and my goal for the day is to get as much work as that was assigned to me done as possible. And sometimes that happens, and other times there's a lot of first response calls that come in. My favorite part is the uniqueness. It's not knowing what I'm going to be faced with every day. It could be different. It's not mundane in any way. And it's exciting when you get a call and you're on your way and you don't know what it is, and you have the experience and the know-how and the backing to face whatever it's going to be. So I feel very confident in facing these calls, and I think that's my favorite part.
Hello, my name is Devon Poulos. I'm the Aquatics Facilities Manager with the City of Northport, and today we're going to be talking with you guys about our free swim evaluation. It's important that we do these swim evaluations so as
Good afternoon, everybody. Today's Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. It's 3:01 p.m. We're in the city chambers, and I call the City Commission special meeting to order. Commissioners present are Commissioner Duval, Mr. Langdon, Mayor Stokes, Vice Mayor Emmerich, Commissioner Petro. There's a quorum present for the meeting. Also present, City Manager Fletcher, Interim City Attorney Golan, Assistant City Clerk Powell, Board Specialist Lane. We got Deputy Chief Morales, and I don't see anyone from fire. All right, and Fire Chief Titus is here. Deputy Chief, want to lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Righty. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Langdon and seconded by the Vice Mayor to approve the agenda. Let's vote. And that passes 5-0. City Clerk, public comments?
No, sir.
No public comments. Moving on to the consent agenda. City Manager, anything pulled?
Well, there's only one item, Mr. Mayor, but I would like to just introduce it and give the board a chance to ask any questions, if you don't mind.
Appreciate it very much.
Okay. This item is 25-2013. This is approve the award of request for proposal number 25 for professional services Parks and Rec master plan to GAI Consultants in the amount of $249,665 for project P25 PMP Parks Master Plan. First of all, we do want to thank you for the ability to have this special meeting for this particular signing of this contract. First and foremost, it is time sensitive. We do want to get going on it so that we can get the results back as soon as possible. But based on the history of how we got here, we just want to make sure that you all have a chance, if you have any questions, to ask them so that we can make sure that the outcome of the plan meets your expectations and there's no room for errors later on in the process.
Right. I don't see any names up there, Commissioner Langdon.
Yeah,
I know
I'll,
you had a
I'll
few.
speak. First, I am delighted that we're moving on this plan. We've talked about it a couple of times, and I'm very excited for us to get started thinking about and talking about what our Parks and Rec strategy and plan is for the eastern portion of the city. Anyway, in reading through the scope of work, it triggered several thoughts that I wanted to share. And one is, I hope that we also think about the older age groups in the city. We have done some really wonderful things on the western side of the city for our youth. All of the parks and the Morgan Center and the Aquatic Center, et cetera, et cetera. There are a couple of things that I would like to see, and when I talk to people, there are a couple of themes that I hear again and again. In our city, we really lack a place to do small events. We do the best we can with City Center Green, but it's small and it's limited in terms of size. So I would like to see identified in this plan someplace where we could accommodate a couple hundred people. It might have some kind of stage. I know the Warm Mineral Springs plan at one point had amphitheater, I forget what you call it, but sort of a permanent covered structure. And I guess the model I have in mind is Lashley Park in Punta Gorda. It's not a big park, and they make it available. Third parties come in and organize festivals like the Seafood Festival and that kind of thing. So having an asset like that within the city, I think, would be terrific. In the financial plan, I loved the financial. Do you want to interact, or do you want me to just kind of spew and then?
Well, I can address what you had just brought up.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about needs of older individuals in the community, that's all going to be part of a needs assessment that's done citywide. And they will identify different stakeholder groups. And so they will try and put together a plan that addresses what comes up, bubbles up from that needs assessment.
Right.
As far as a space, short of trying to identify property that's for sale that we don't own yet, the Italy Avenue parcel is a large parcel out on that side of town. That maybe that's appropriate for something what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that would be great. And the other with the older, and it's really 20-somethings and older, pickleball courts, I know you've heard it a million times. And then for me, it becomes a question of, do we do it as part of Parks and Rec, or do we attract a commercial enterprise into the city to offer that? And then I really loved the financial plan. We need to make sure, and you brought it up, Sandy, that we need to acquire property. So that definitely, identifying where we'd like it to be and what it's going to cost as part of that financial planning, I think would be important. In order for parks to really become economic engines, we need to provide in close proximity opportunities for people to spend money. So my thought was making sure not all of the parks, but some number of them are in proximity to the two activity centers out there. And if there are other multi-use or commercial developments on the east side, if there's a hotel going in, let's make sure that some number of our parks have an opportunity to really pull in tourism and people coming in from other areas to utilize our assets. Just want to make sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's just about everything. So
Okay.
if I missed anything, I'll come back.
I really, in conjunction with your comments regarding the financial plan, it might be appropriate at this time. I read through the contract. The scope is great. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive, and I assume it's going to be pretty much modeled on the 2018 book and the one that was done earlier. So it's going to be pretty similar, and it'll kind of identify and review each of the parks and you know, the Morgan and Mullen centers and the aquatic center and all that. You know, at some point, obviously, you know, we have needs going forward, and you know, we're going to need to make investment on the east side of town. We have a lot of things that, you know, we need to look at to realign this master plan. The thing that I think would be helpful, and I'm not sure it necessarily has to be part of this master plan, but I think it needs to get worked on so that when that master plan comes to us, we have all the tools we need to make some real good, smart decisions. When on March 13th, you guys provided us with, if I remember I think it was the 13th, like a set of emails from Parks and Recs that had a lot of great information, like statistical information on the value of parks and numbers and this and that and recovery numbers. And then there was one exhibit there that was from Port Charlotte that had all their budgets. It took all their parks, their rec areas, it broke them down, it had them all costed out. And it really, I found it great because while we know, you know, that it is a quality of life pillar and we appreciate it's not a money-making pillar, but yet we look at the recovery numbers and those things. That was enormously helpful. And I really was hoping that while it's been discussed, I know by Commissioner Langdon a number of times over the last couple of years since I've been on this commission, we have had discussions, but we've never gone ahead and done it because I know it's a lift. I would very much like to see for our Morgan Mullen centers. We already have it for the Aquatic Center and Mineral Springs, but for the Morgan and Mullen centers, for Atwater, for Dallas White, for all the major parks, and then maybe grouping some of the pocket parks because maybe they're cookie cuttered, is a real breakdown of a budget. Knowing it's hard to identify each and every cost, there can still be percentages and allocations made. The ability to look at what it's costing us and the recovery numbers for each of these various segments, I think will be invaluable as we try to look at the master plan that comes forward and figure out where we get the best bang for our buck, what things we could do, because we do want to address the needs we have, but we also want to make sure that there aren't some areas that are costing us an enormous amount that aren't giving us the kind of quality of life return we would like. And so if we have all those tools, we'll be good. Otherwise, we're going to get this master plan. We're not going to be able to make informed decisions because we don't have financial numbers we need broken down. And I know it's a lot, and I would suggest not, you know, last year's actuals, this year's to dates, and as we budget out for this coming year, they be done that way. All our other, like you take Public Works, they break down their divisions, and you're able to look at each of those departments and see what they cost. I just think it's important. If Charlotte County can do it, I don't see why we can't do it. Anyway, I don't know what my fellow commissioners think about that, but you know, I would love to hear some input, or if I'm just alone. Mr. Langdon?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I've mentioned that a number of times, particularly for our very expensive assets. It would be really, really good to see that breakdown, sort of a complete budget. As I was looking at my notes, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. We have two very large conservation areas in the city the Myakka State Forest, and Orange Hammock. The State Forest does a really good job. They have hiking trails and mapping and camping and picnic areas. My understanding of the Orange Hammock is it's used by hunters and three-wheelers sort of informally. I think we have a tremendous opportunity to work with that conservation group and provide some walking trails and things like that. I don't think that kind of use of a conservation area is verboten. And it's a beautiful property. And I think giving people recreational access to it would enhance the city a lot. So again, I don't know if that's a crazy idea or if that's, a feasible idea. But we gave up a lot when we gave up that property to conservation. And I think at the very least, we should explore enhancing the recreational opportunities of that property.
So,
CM, I know city manager.
I'll let her go first on what was just said, and I'll respond to what was said before.
Previously.
So just to address some of the other things you brought up on the master plan, part of what we are asking that group to do is to take the park system mapping that Trish had presented and take that a step further and identify what type of parks and really hone in on where that's all going to be. We know where the deficits are, where we don't have them, but what kind of park would be there. This group that they negotiated with for the agreement has quite a bit of experience in working with parks and bringing in more of associating it with a commercial area, kind of exactly what you were saying.
Right.
So that was one of the things that attracted us to that group.
And let me just say relative to that, in reading through the proposal, I know selecting the vendors is not in my lane, but I do want to comment, reading through, I was very impressed with their credentials, and I think you've done a terrific job picking a good partner. So
Thank you.
Earlier, Mr. Mayor, to the point of breaking down the cost per particular location within Parks and Recs, that's a very atypical request, and they're not, the accounting practices of a Parks and Recs department is not broken out by singular location. I don't want to set up the expectation that you think that we can go and pull that out on our own. It would take time and probably an outside entity to help get that separation if that's what you're looking for. I think when the master plan comes back to you, they will have estimated prices in there so that you can make your decisions. But to go back and to give you actuals and projected for individual facilities for us is probably not going to be as accurate maybe as you want it to be. But if it is the will of the board and you want to do it, it is going to take some time and some effort.
Well, that's why I brought this item up, because, being an accountant, I know, and there's a lot of different ways to approach it. I mean, I've done plenty of budgets where there were a lot of assumptions made and a lot of percentage and allocations made, and, some are accurate, some are less so. But being as this master plan is going to take us probably a better part of a year at least to get done. I remember you guys are shooting for the end of this calendar year, and so we're in April, so 9 months thereabouts. To me, I really thought it was valuable looking at Charlotte County's numbers, and if it involves spending a little money to be able to have it done professionally, because once it's modeled, once we've got it, then every year as we budget, those numbers can be laid in. And you got to figure Parks and Recs is a quality of life pillar. And it's important to this city that we continue to provide the highest quality of life we can. And Parks and Recs is always, you see it, it's always the lowest hanging fruit that everybody, this commission, future commissions, past commissions, always want to pick at. And it's important to be able to really look at the numbers and say, we get that the return on investment or the recovery numbers are reasonable and they're comparable with surrounding areas. And we accept the fact that our city tax dollars should pay to help support that quality of life. I think it's important when we don't have that level of detail. It's very hard. Our responsibility is to be, the stewards of the tax dollars and in an environment where we're trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can, this will help us be better at it. And I know it's a lift, so I'm good. I would be in favor of having a firm do it. I don't know what the cost, I can't imagine it's going to be a fortune, but it would pay returns, I believe, in the long run, because it's something that's missing. And it's going to be difficult when we make some good strategic decisions when this master plan comes. Because if we know our recovery rates in certain areas are good, if we recognize and accept the costs involved in providing this quality of life, we will, as commission, maybe feel a lot better about the investments we may have to make in future park decisions, because we do need more in the right areas. And I don't want to feel that, I worry about the amount of monies we spend in justifying them. And I believe they're probably justifiable, but we don't have those numbers. And when I saw a county that has it broken down so well, it really gave me a good feel for, what things cost.
So the county numbers that we provided to you are a little bit different than what you see when you look at our budget. We have a per division budget, which includes our free events, a lot of other things. We provided to you only the ones that were relevant to show like comparisons on facilities. So that would be a different overall look if you looked at their entirety of their budget, as opposed to just those facilities that we pulled out and provided for you. When we look at our recreation budget, just the provision of the Freedom Festival alone adds $60,000 to $80,000 a year to the recreation budget. So to actually decipher and disseminate each little piece by event, program, facility would be a very comprehensive budget model.
And it's that part of the budget I don't have as big a problem with, but I look at the venues. I look at Atwater Park. I look at Dallas White Park. I'll just pick on those two. We have such incredible resource in those two areas. What are we doing? What's it costing us to maintain those two things? Morgan and Mullet. Now, the information you sent at Commissioner Langston's request was insightful as to usage and when the uses were. But to be able to say, here's what it's costing us, are there ways to tweak that recovery number? Is it not possible? Could we find outside partners who are coming into our city to pick up part of those services that would then allow us to add to the existing facilities, which would then bring the recoveries up? Those kinds of analyses, while they're operational to some degree, as a commission, the tax dollars are our responsibility. And it's hard for us, it's hard for me to understand what guidance and direction we might give when we don't know those numbers. So, again, I think it's a worthy exercise, but again, I'm one of five, so I don't know what you all think, so I'll shut up, and I'd love to hear what everybody else is thinking on this.
If I could just address real quick, when you talk about the facilities, the Morgan Center, well, we could tell you pretty close what the Morgan Center and the Mullen Center cost to operate with, staff that it takes to open and close it, and the electricity, all of those things, utilities. But when the staff at the Morgan Center are the ones that are organizing a citywide event, and that money is in their budget, that's where the complication comes. The July 4th event is in the recreation budget. The Poinsettia event is in the recreation budget.
The reservations unit for all of our field reservations, the team that makes those reservations is through recreation. And so there's not a direct correlation to that Dallas White field for those direct costs.
And you know what? With all the footnotes that go along with that, well, I'm good with that. I appreciate it's not clean, and so it's not like looking at other types of department budgets. That the intent isn't to analyze it from the standpoint of what do we cut, what do we keep. It's more to get a good, comfortable feel for what options. How do we make it better? How do we add? How do we, from a positive standpoint, not so much an accountability standpoint. But I just think it's a gap. We don't have those numbers, and we have no idea. We don't. We just see the whole department in its entirety, pretty much, except for you know, the aquatic center in Mineral Springs. I mean, I don't know, what do the rest of you think? If I'm alone with it, then forget it. You know, I'm just one of five, but, you know, what are you all thinking?
You know what I think? I'd like to see the data, particularly on those really capital-intensive projects, you know, the community centers, Warm Mineral Springs, and we have a pretty good handle on the aquatic center. So for me, at least for those, but I do see the value in having a model. So I don't know whether you actually want to see actuals, Mayor, or if what you're really looking for is if we want to create a passive park, it costs X per acre to develop that. Or if we want an active park, it costs Y per acre. So that as we begin building out our park system out east, we sort of have a model to know what kind of investment. So are you looking for really actuals from an operating point of view or more from a planning?
Yes, where they can. I mean, here's a good scenario. You know, on the next meeting we have, we're going to be talking about spending close to $1 million to do the engineering studies for the Legacy Trail Connector at Mineral Springs. It's going to cost something. Aside from what it's going to cost to put that in place, it's going to cost money to maintain it and take care of it, and the bathrooms and this and that and all the other things. How, if we're spending tax dollars on this stuff and we don't know what it's costing us, and it's just part of a big cost bucket of quality of life, it doesn't do it for me. And I just feel that it's important to know these numbers and understand what it's costing. I don't care if it costs $750,000 to run the Morgan Center or the Mullen Center, and the return or the recovery is 25%. I don't care, because the quality, I mean, I do care, but the quality of life is important. And if that's standard, and if that's comparable with other venues, other cities, other counties, I'm okay with that. But I'd like to know it, and I don't know it. And I feel that I'm responsible for these dollars being spent. I don't mean to get on a soapbox, but we've asked for 2 years for this stuff. And I know if staff can't do it and finance can't do it because they're too busy, and they are, I'm not being sarcastic, then maybe we should farm it out. We're going to spend a year, we're spending a lot of money to have this study done. Once it's all done, and the recommendations are we spend all kinds of money to build parks out east and this and that and all the rest, how can we sit here and make those decisions when we don't know what it costs to operate the ones we got? And I don't know how to say it any more gently or bluntly. And I just feel it's well worth the money spent to do it, especially in the environment within, where everybody's looking at costs and what it costs. And quality of life is important. It's the easiest thing for people to pick at and want to chop. And I don't want that to happen, but you got to have numbers to back up and justify why we spend tax dollars on these things. And there's good reason to spend the dollars. So, you know, I mean it in the most positive sense. So Commissioner Duval, I mean, or Petrov, I'd love to hear what you got, you know, I know where Commissioner Langdon stands, but they're still here listening. Anybody else have anything to say here? Commissioner Petrov?
Well, I do agree with you, Mr. Mayor, and I think we should do some study. I think it can be done in-house, because since from what I understand, you're looking at the actual, not the projected, correct? So if we do have actual expenses or like actual fees or whatever that we spend, we can do it in-house and instead of outsource it. Obviously, it's going to take some time and effort. We're not looking to have it tomorrow, next month. But I think it's really doable and feasible to do it. And I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Based on the ask and what we've given you based on what you've asked for us in the past, I am not going to commit that we can do this in-house. We are telling you that based on our accounting system and how we are set up as a city, with the systems that we have,
I know.
that our team would not be able to go through and break out everything in the way that you're looking for. It is going to take an outside party, and it is going to cost something. And when we go out for the ask, I think that we've all heard that you said today, we will bring back to you, of course, as naturally we would, the contract that would say this is what it's going to cost, and then we'll put that in front of you, and then we'll get the details from the process that will let you know the time frame and make sure that it matches your expectations.
I mean, thank you, because I don't disagree with you at all. If it could have been done in-house, it would have been done in-house.
Correct.
You guys, staff has always been responsive to anything we've asked. So I don't mean to imply that it was an ask that was ignored, because I know how hard it is to pull these numbers out and make them have meaning. You can't just slap them on a piece of paper without being able to justify them and substantiate where they come from. So I get that. And if it costs a little money to do it, I just think its value is it will help us so greatly as we make decisions about how we can provide the highest quality of life in parks and recs around this city. We need to do that. We can't just be afraid that, oh, it's a cost center, it's draining, and allow it to continue to be the one department that gets picked at all the time. And it does. And it's not fair, because we don't have all the numbers to be able to say, this is how it works, this is how it costs. You know, staff says it is, but commissioners, present, past, and future, will always question this without the ability to track these numbers. And they can be tracked. They're just going to take a professional study to do it. And, you know, I don't know, you know, we're going to spend a whole lot of money on the master plan. We're spending a whole lot of money on something as small as a Mineral Springs or a Legacy Trail Mineral Springs hookup. I mean, we're making some dollar commitments. This, to me, when you look at the percentage of our general fund that is consumed by Parks and Recs, I think it's money well spent. At least we should know what it'll cost and what that project would entail in the time frame. If you all feel the same as me, I mean, it sounds like at least a couple of you do, but Vice Mayor and Commissioner Duval, I mean, if you guys want to weigh in, I'd love to hear it.
I told you I'd say a few words. I understand what you're getting at, but I can understand I'm getting the pricing on the major facilities. You know, worrying about a pocket park out there and what it costs and stuff like that is just whenever, and you don't have to get up, just nod if I'm correct. When we do put in a new park or we do look at putting in a new amenity, don't you give us projections on what the cost factors are going to be going forward every single time? This is what it's going to cost us to maintain. See all those nods back there? So that information comes in prior to us putting in a new park in the future. So we know what it's going to cost and what it's going to take to maintain it. I have no issues finding out what the Mullen Center is, you know, all of them on those cost factors. But again, we're looking at parks, and then you have recreation, and they told you a lot of the monetary stuff recoups from the recreation side.
So,
wait a minute, let me finish. And with that, we didn't even ask, okay, we got the ball fields out there at Atwater with the Little League or whatever. Do they pay to use the fields? Does that get recouped into the parks budget, or is that under the recreation side as well? There's a lot of different factors coming into play here. And to go to an outside individual, that costs money. I understand we're looking at spending money, but costed money. And for the last 3 months, we've been preaching that we're trying to cut funds and money, but here we are trying to add on different things right now in the middle of budget season. So my hands are tied on this. I wouldn't want to commit funds to have this done because a lot of that information is readily available prior to us making a decision on a new park.
So then
that's where I'm
Parks and Recs ought to be able to produce all that. We ought to know exactly what it costs or what the projections were to maintain these things. And they don't exist because we don't have them. Okay. And as far as how we account for things and how we move what monies for for projects or programs or activities fall into what, maybe a study would actually help us properly account, not properly, but account for them in a method that would make it much more easy to make smarter financial decisions regarding this stuff. I'm trying to find ways to support the Parks and Recs programs and to enhance them and to justify the costs and the percentage of recovery, not trying to drag it down and pick it apart. And we don't have that. If what Vice Mayor's saying is true, that before any new parks are put in, we have projections on what it would cost to maintain them, where are they? Why don't we have them? And I don't think they exist, quite frankly. And if they do, I'd love to see them for all the parks in the last 5 years or 10 years that have been put in place. So, you know, if this costs $50,000 or $100,000 or $20,000, it might be money well spent in order to know. I mean, the idea is a positive thing. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to make it a negative thing, but I feel that I don't have a grip on what it's costing us to operate our various larger operations in parks and recs. And I'd like to know that, because before I can make a decision about a 40-acre park out east, I need to know that, or I'm not going to be able to support stuff like that.
Juliana Belia, Assistant City Manager. Mayor, when we process our budget every year, Parks and Recreation Department, we have capital improvement sheets. On those capital improvement sheets, as part of the budget, we do have recurring maintenance costs. We include in there how much staffing will be needed, equipment, supplies, if we have restrooms, if we're going to have in-house maintenance of a park, if we have a contractor for certain services. So we do have costs identified each time we develop a park.
Yeah.
I think possibly what I'm hearing, the commission give some direction, is you would like an overall study done, financial study, as to what it's costing for us to build and construct and maintain our parks, which is a little bit more comprehensive. This master plan is giving you a vision for the future and laying out all the parks that are going to be constructed, you know, in the future for our city. But what you're talking about is a little bit more comprehensive and a little bit more deep. But our Parks and Recreation does do their due diligence through the budget on the capital improvement worksheets and identifying recurring maintenance costs.
I have no doubt it does, and I
Okay.
don't mean to say that this ask is part of what the master plan should be, but
Right.
you're actually supporting Commissioner Petro's contention that this could be done in-house if all this information is put together for CIP sheets, and I know it's not. What I'm trying to say is that it requires, I agree with city manager, this is not something that we have a handle on internally. I'm asking for a look at how to do this differently so that we can actually do it. Charlotte County does it. We could do it, but it's going to cost money, time, and involvement. But I think the tool is valuable. How can you not know what it costs to operate some of our major parks and recreation areas? We're a city with approximately approaching $300 million budget, and we spend millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars. How could we not know what it's costing us to run each of these things? And I mean it in a positive sense, because if we want to make good decisions as to how we allocate more dollars or redirect dollars to enhancing our quality of life amenities under Parks and Recs, we need this information. That's the reason I brought this up. It's just that simple. And you know, I don't know. I mean, at some point we need to make a motion. Commissioner Duval, we haven't heard anything from you. I don't know if you want to weigh in on this. Fair enough. I mean,
Yeah, just a final comment for me. Where I always go with this stuff, and let me back up. The Parks and Rec budget comes out of the general fund, which is populated through property tax. That's where the money comes from. So, in way oversimplified model, where my mind goes is, okay, if we're going to spend, these are made up numbers, if we're going to spend $10 million to build a community center, then that, and we have 20,000 households, then that means it's going to take $500 of property tax per household to build that facility. And then if, by our model, we have a $500,000 a year shortfall, operating costs minus fee recapture, then a community center, 20,000 households means $25 per year of property tax. So as we're approaching the build out of Parks and Rec out east, I would like to know what is the impact going to be on our property taxes to support, number one, the building of it, and then the operating of it. And I agree with Mayor, the request is not punitive. We just really need to understand it. And the community needs to understand what it means
So they support it.
so that they support it.
I mean, unless someone else has, Commissioner Petro?
On a final note, I would like to add a couple of things. If it's not feasible to do in-house, I'm a little bit hesitant to outsource, and confirming Vice Mayor's remarks. That would, we kind of trying to save money, and then we asking to hire outsource consulting company. I guess what I'm trying to say is they already have some sort of compilation of finances, and it doesn't have to be to the dollar, but I guess the staff can do more analytical analysis, and they do partially already, so it doesn't have to be exactly to the cent. But and maybe we can ask Charlotte County how they did it, or what system they used, or what consultant, if they used it outside firms or not, or they did it in-house. But I don't think it's too complicated to kind of break it down more. And I'm not in a staff position, but that's just my final thoughts on it. But we're all trying to save money, we're all trying to cut unnecessary expenses, but at the same time, we need to see the full picture. I'm really supporting the mayor, but as well as the vice mayor, because we're trying to save money. So one thing, maybe we can ask Charlotte County. A second, maybe do more breakdown of the reports they already have on files. So that's it from me.
Well, if no one, I'm happy to try a motion. If you don't want to do it, you want me to make the motion, Commissioner Petro? Let's try this. I move to instruct city manager to work with staff to develop a budget for key park assets, evaluating the feasibility of doing it in-house, and taking a look at Charlotte County's approach to quantifying the operating costs of their park asset. That do it?
As long as the other commissioners approve it.
Well, we'll see if it gets a second, right?
Yeah.
Second for discussion, sure.
Okay. Up, city
Commissioner Duval.
City manager?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, we were trying to make sure that it was okay and, of course, legally defensible for you to make this motion in this setting based on the item is a item about the master plan. So I was just trying to converse with the city attorney, and I'm looking over at the deputy city clerk as well to make sure that we're all in alignment with what we can and can't do.
My question for the commission is whether you are not going to vote on the underlying item unless you have this information before you consider the underlying item. Is that what you're waiting for, or is this in addition to your discussion on the underlying item today?
I think for me, this is in addition to.
Yeah.
So I would see two separate motions coming.
And I would say to that, while I see the same thing Commissioner Langdon does, they are two separate items. One may have weight with regard to how one might vote on the agenda item. Okay?
Understand.
And I don't see the current motion as being unrelated to the master plan topic. I think they're intrinsically intertwined. So I don't think we have an issue of this topic not being on the agenda. I think it's quite pertinent within the context of a master plan for out east. Just my 2 cents.
That's what prompted my question. If you can't vote on your underlying item because you don't know this information, then I would say to bring it back in as a discussion item to vote on in another meeting. But if you're still going to move forward with your underlying item, regardless of this information, then you can move forward with this motion.
I would say yes to that.
Up to the commission.
And
though.
what do others?
Well, yeah, if we can move on with the regular item that's on the agenda and vote on that without any further information, then you're okay with that, correct?
I would prefer to do it that way, to move forward with your underlying item. Ideally, bring this item back for discussion and a vote to move it forward at another meeting once it's properly noticed, in case there's any other information that you need or want, or other people who want to comment on it, because it wasn't really notified this way for this discussion. There might be the public who wants to weigh in on this.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get at, because if we just did what was on the paper here that we're supposed to, and then have a separate agenda item at a future meeting discussing this again, and then making the motion
That would be the best way to move forward.
That's what I was thinking should have happened. That's all. That's why I'm asking.
If I may, Mayor, I would just say I think both of these pieces of work can happen concurrently. I don't see coming up with some kind of financing model as being required before we can move forward on a master plan. I think they can happen concurrently.
Or what does the mayor say? He brought it up.
Commissioner Duval.
Commissioner Duval, he speaks.
Now I have a problem. I'm starting to feel like we're going this way. If we do one thing, it may affect what you do in the other. And if you're doing them both at the same time, when you get each one finished, you may find out that, gee, they went in different directions. I would rather see one completed first. And then based on that, look at the other later on.
Mr. Langdon.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but what I come back to, so what I see in my mind very vividly was a decision the city made over 10 years ago to purchase Warm Mineral Springs without any appreciation or documentation or budget allocation for the maintenance of that property. So again, I think both call it the modeling or the proposed or the anticipated budget of certain assets. Once we come up with the master plan, that's like a vision of what we would like to do. Rather than then waiting, what is it going to cost to do it? We would have that information ready at the same time to be able to plan and budget it out. I just want to avoid having a master plan, a beautiful picture that we all in the community gets excited about, and then we go, oh, whoops, it's going to cost $1 bazillion to create this, to implement this vision and then maintain it. I just don't want to see another Warm Mineral Springs. I want us to know financially what we're in for when we approve certain investments. I'm not going to say anymore.
Oh, there was a motion and it was seconded, so unless somebody else has something more to say on this subject, I could go on for an hour, but I won't say another word. Let's just vote and see where this falls.
Do we need a
Could you
repeat
read
of
back,
the
could you
motion?
read back the motion, please?
I would recommend that you withdraw that motion, the motion maker withdraw that motion and move forward with the item on the agenda and bring this item that you're discussing now back at a different meeting on different agenda under proper notice to consider it at that time.
Boy, I don't
And your
understand
reason
that.
being,
Sorry?
and your reason being,
That the discussion for directing this is not properly noticed, that the public does not know that this conversation, this discussion is taking place, might want to participate and to ensure that that is done properly, to bring it back at another time.
Oh, I'd like to comment on that.
you were the motion maker.
I don't understand that, because understanding financially what it's going to cost to implement anything in the city, that is not a community conversation. That's an obligation of this board. For us to plan and adopt plans without having a clue what it's going to cost to create and maintain that vision is not good governance.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just for a point of clarity, the plan itself is going to bring you back numbers that will be associated with what the plan is driving you towards. The difference between, as was referenced earlier, a CIP document and the plan is that those are the planning numbers for the implementation. Once you implement it, it falls into the big bowl of soup, so to say, of Parks and Recs. You're asking us to go now and separate that bowl, which is separate and different from go explore the plan and tell us how much it's going to cost in that plan. There will be a cost in that plan without us going and unraveling the bowl of soup. But they're both important based on what I'm hearing from this board. But I don't want you to believe that if you don't adopt the plan that we put in front of you today for consideration, that it will come back to you without the financial information in it that will help guide your future decisions.
And I appreciate that with regard to the plan, because I read the contract and I read the scope and I read everything else that was in there. And I do agree, when it comes to laying out a master plan, it will talk about that. What is missing, though, is what exists today and the costs of what exists today and the cost of maintaining everything we have today. Because it'll take a year for this master plan.
Right.
And when it comes back to us, or 9 months, when it comes back to us, we're going to be asked to adopt this plan. We're going to be asked to make decisions based on this plan at some point.
We totally agree. All we're saying, as I'm following up with the interim county attorney, is that today we're asking you for the plan. Based on what I'm hearing, you're saying bring back to me direction so that you can give direction so that we can unravel the current operations.
But to the acting city attorney's point, and what Commissioner Langdon said, she was right on point, in my opinion. This is our responsibility. Making this ask doesn't require public notice. It doesn't require anything more than the commission directing staff to do this. And I don't see that the fact that it isn't properly noticed here as a separate item matters. I think that it's going to take every bit as long to do this as it will to do the master plan. And if this goes on another agenda, another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, I don't see any reason for not dealing with it now, because I don't see an issue of notice. Again, city attorney says it, but it's tied together. These things are integral. And while we can make a decision to further a master plan, there's no reason why we can't make this ask now, in my opinion. I don't see anybody anywhere who's ever going to complain about this issue. The fact that their electeds want more financial information to make the best decisions as to how to use their tax dollars. Who in the world's going to complain about that? So you know, what I hear is that this should be massaged out for a later date. As it is, I don't even know if this motion's going to pass, okay? So, you know, I really have.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor,
sir.
we're talking about 6 days, not 6 weeks or 6 months. There's a meeting next Tuesday morning. We can amend the agenda and get it on at that point and keep you satisfied. 6 days isn't going to change the time frame, and the interim city attorney, I think, is satisfied with that as well.
Ask a question.
Oh, sure.
Let me pose a question and see if this makes the request a little more palatable. So what I'm hearing is making a request at this point to take a look at the operating models of current Parks and Rec is outside the scope of today's discussion. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right.
Okay. So what if we rephrase that to expand the scope if it needs to be, because I didn't see it in here. What I did see was what the financial obligations would be to create the different assets. What if we expand the scope to include anticipated operating costs of different classes of parks to be determined? You know, passive, try to keep it very, very high level, passive, active, special assets. And special assets might be a community center, blah, 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 blah.
As much as I would like to, my concern is that the group that's going to do this plan is not necessarily the group that would be in a position to do the financial analysis we need. I think they're two different groups.
Well, we
But I
wouldn't
could
know
be
until
wrong.
we ask.
Yeah, I agree. And if that were the case, then yeah, it would take, it would basically put, you know, kick this particular agenda item back to staff to modify, which, you know, just puts off the overall master
I mean,
plan,
I don't
but-
want to. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to approve. I want to
Yeah,
instruct
me
staff to
too.
move forward with the master plan.
Too.
I mean, there's not a question in my mind about that. But the next time this is on the agenda to review the plan, I want to know what we're in for in terms of building it. I think we'll get that based upon what I read, but also maintaining it. And we have like 3 minutes until our 4 o'clock.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So I have Caitlin Coggin, our assistant city attorney, who's worked on this contract, and she might have a little light to shed on the situation.
Caitlin Coughlin, Assistant City Attorney. What I wanted to add is if we change anything in the scope of work, it's going to have to go out and rebid. So I just wanted you to keep that in mind, is that if anything is changed, then we have to change from the beginning forward. And that's why we have it on the agenda as it is.
Well, you know, I might thank you very much. That's what I surmised. And if the motion maker would like to rescind your motion, we can spend an hour, a couple of days from now, and have this conversation all over again. And let's direct staff, at least if nothing else, to put this on the agenda as a separate agenda item for the very next meeting we can. That makes sense. And let's have this discussion all over again.
Okay, I'll pull my, if the seconder.
I'll pull my second.
Okay, I pull the motion, and I will remake the motion to instruct city manager to work with staff to accept this contract and begin the master planning effort for Parks Out East.
And I'll second that. there's nothing else to that, or nothing more to that, let's vote. And that passes 5-0. But I would say at this point, are there any other public comments?
No, sir.
Well, then it is 3:58, and we'll adjourn this meeting. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. It is 4:03 PM. We're in City Chambers, and I call the City Commission regular meeting to order. Commissioners present are Commissioner DeVal, Commissioner Langdon, Mayor Stokes, Vice Mayor Emmerich, Commissioner Petro. There's a quorum present. Also present, City Manager Fletcher, Interim City Attorney Golan, Assistant City Clerk Powell, Board Specialist Lane, Police Chief, Deputy Chief Morales, and there he is, Chief Titus. And let's see, can we get to do the pledge here? Let us see. God, I'm having an Alice White moment here. City Manager, how about you?
Why not?
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Langdon to approve the agenda. Let's vote on that. And that passes 5-0. Any public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, with that, then we're going to welcome new employees. City Manager, you want to introduce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call up Ms. Sandy Knowles, our Risk and Benefit Manager, to introduce the new employees for the City of Northport.
Hi, good afternoon. Sandy Knowles, the Risk and Benefits Manager for the city. I get the opportunity to welcome all of our new employees, and we're excited to welcome you to our team. As I call your names, if you could please stand for recognition, that would be fantastic. In the City Manager's Office in Information Technology, we have Adrian Rodriguez. Adrian, you didn't have your speech ready? No. Okay, next time. Casey Simmons, Service Desk. From Development Services, we have Thomas Fiorelli, our Planning and Zoning Manager. From our Police Department, we have Ryan King. We have Janine Angelini. James Nias. Christopher Ramsey. Public Works, we have Gregory Abel, Solid Waste. And Utilities, we have James Floyd, Water Distribution. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you guys. Thank you.
All righty. Moving on to proclamations and recognitions. Commissioners, let's go down front.
Whereas, one of the most meaningful gifts that a human being can bestow upon another is the gift of life. And whereas, over 104,000 men, women, and children are currently on the national waiting list for organ transplantation, of which over 5,500 reside in Florida. And whereas 48,149, a historic number of organ transplants, occurred in the calendar year 2024 in the United States, thanks to the generosity of 24,018 deceased and living donors, of which LifeLink of Florida honored more donors than ever before, serving 361 organ donors who provided 936 life-saving transplants to patients in need. And whereas more than 2.5 million people throughout the country and in Florida benefit annually from tissue transplantation, thanks to thousands of tissue donors, and whereas the need for organ, eye, and tissue donation remains critical as a new patient is added to the national waiting list for an organ transplant every 8 minutes. And each day, roughly 16 people die due to the lack of available organs. And whereas more than 11.1 million Floridians have already registered their decision to give the gift of life through organ and tissue donation at www.donatelifeflorida.org or on their driver license. And whereas LifeLink of Florida, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the recovery of organs and tissue for transplantation therapy in Florida, with a mission to honor donors and save lives through organ and tissue donation. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Donate Life Month.
Thank you. We have Mr. Moses here.
Yes.
Come on up.
Do I get a moment or is something?
You get a moment, sir.
Everything I was going to say, he just said. So almost every time I work the health desks.
Come on behind. Yeah, come on behind and use the mic. This way those listening can hear you.
Yeah, I was listening. I'm Jack Moses. I've been a long time volunteer with the Organ Donation Information, and I live in Northport, by the way. And I really want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to support this cause. As you mentioned, we did 48,000 organ transplants in the U.S. last year. That was a record. That was like a quarter more than we've ever done in a year. There's still 100 and some thousand people waiting. As you mentioned, there's still more than a dozen people a day that don't make it until they get an organ. So until we can grow these things in laboratories, it's great that people are willing to give their organs when they're done with them and don't need them anymore. So I want to thank you very much. And also from LifeLink of Florida, who is the organization charged by the federal government for carrying out organ donation activities in Florida. I've got these pins for everybody here. If you would pick one up, if you'd like one, to show your support for it, as we know we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you got a picture. Right in here.
Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Mr. Patrick. Oh, you got it already. Okay, good.
Northport, Florida proclamation. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a complex and continuing problem in our society, affecting over 3 million children annually nationwide, and whereas there's no test of a society more important than the status and treatment of its children, and whereas the Child Protection Center works to prevent child abuse and to protect and treat children affected by child abuse with the hope of creating a community in which every child is free and safe from child abuse, and urge all citizens to be aware of and involved with the local and national programs which provide ongoing protection of our children. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Ms. Hughes? There she is. Come on down. Usually down ahead of time. You want to say a few words? Be our
please.
guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Danielle Hughes. I am the supervisor of the Child Protection Team. It is a program of the Child Protection Center. On behalf of our board of directors, our staff, and volunteers, I want to thank the City of Northport for proclaiming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. I would encourage you all to educate yourselves on child abuse. It is in our community, and you can check out our website at cpcsarasota.org. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Who do we have? City of Northport Utilities. That's you, Michael. Come on down. With all the glory goes to you. Where is everybody?
No, Coco.
Coco, come on down here. All right. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, water management districts in the city of Northport are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Northport, Sarasota County, and the state of Florida has designated April typically a dry month when water demands are most acute. Florida's Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas City of Northport has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas efficient irrigation design, programming, and maintenance can conserve water, City of Northport will encourage citizens and businesses to evaluate their irrigation systems for potential efficiency enhancements. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Water Conservation Month.
Yeah, just to touch on that with water conservation, I don't know if you've noticed in Northport, we seem to grow a little bit, slightly. And the more we grow our precious water, the conservation of that is so important that you're right, there's a lot of water out there. We're surrounded by an ocean. It's just the cost of the water to treat it, to make it potable, to make it safe. And the more we conserve and the more we do ourselves and for our environment, the better off we're going to be as a community. So it's important that we conserve whatever water we can. You know, water saving fixtures are huge. Just the little things that we do to save water is important. So, and I do have Coco who wants to announce an upcoming campaign we have on water conservation.
Okay, April is Water Conservation Month, and as you may or may not know, if you follow our social media on the city, we are participating in the Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Mayor Stokes has made a video talking about it. So it's just take the pledge to save. There's a little battle going on back here. Take the pledge to conserve water, and it's shorter showers. Skip a week of watering of your lawns and whatnot. Check your irrigation system, all of that. But take the pledge, vote early, vote often, like we always do. Let's get us to number 1. And it's mywaterpledge.com. Thank you.
Yes, you are. You can stay right here. I'm stealing this one too.
I want
that one.
This one's for utilities. I want the water professionals to come up.
That's
Everybody
right.
from utilities.
Everybody from utilities.
Please.
All right. There we go. I want each one of you to plan on what you want to say when you come to the mic.
No, I doubt double
Who's watching the water? Holy mackerel. All right. Just get cozy. Whereas water industry professionals in Florida dedicate themselves to the production and distribution of safe drinking water, as well as the proper collection, treatment, reuse, and disposal of wastewater and stormwater. And whereas the professionals employed in this industry commit themselves to protecting the health of Florida citizens and our state's natural resources. And whereas it is fitting that the city of Northport recognize all those who have played a significant part in operating and maintaining drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems in Florida by celebrating Florida Water Professionals Month, which applauds their constant efforts to protect our health and environment. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Florida Water Professionals Month.
Okay. This, I'm very proud of this, and I'm very proud to talk about this, because these are your water professionals, industry professionals here in Northport. They operate the system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's no stopping what we do. We don't shut off the water, go home at night. We operate the system, we maintain pressure, we maintain the collection system, and just, it takes a huge effort. And these group of professionals, I am honored here to sit and congratulate them for the recognition of this, because they truly do deserve it. They're a great group, they work hard, they're dedicated, they're committed to what they do, and I just want to say thank you. Great job.
Everybody gets real close.
I'll turn sideways. Get my skinny side.
There's always got to be three. Wait a minute, one more goes back over there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for all you do. There you go. All right. Yeah, we've got, let's see.
They're live on me going.
They're live.
Kingsley, Safe place and life crisis.
Is there a Ning Tinsley? Ning Tinsley?
From Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center?
You'll work, come on
down,
down.
Michelle. Come on up.
She set it up, but I'm the one.
Go right over there. No, right here. Up front and center.
Help them read it.
Whereas sexual violence continues to be a major social and health crisis in our society, Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center, SPARC, CC, is that? Okay. Provides free services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault for Sarasota and DeSoto counties, and seeks to prevent such violence through public awareness and education. And whereas we urge the citizens of Northport to recognize the prevalence of sexual assault, promote awareness, and seek to prevent sexual assault by wearing teal ribbons, which are available from SPARC, during the month of April 2025. Now therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Hello, my name is Michelle. I work for Spark, Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center, and I'm the advocate for Northport. I help with domestic violence and sexual violence. I'm in the Family Service Building on Pan American. We also have an office in Venice, our main office in Sarasota, and we also serve DeSoto County. So thank you for this.
Hang on, we gotta get a picture. Get a picture.
Me. Thank you, sir. Would Misty Elmore, Deputy Chief, and any other representatives of the police department who want to come down? I'll start reading as you come down. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that requires police services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Northport Police Communications Center. And whereas public safety communicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety communicators of the Northport Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 13th through April 19th, 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week.
Sure.
Okay.
Good afternoon, commissioners and city staff. On behalf of all telecommunications professionals, I'm honored to accept this proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. This week is dedicated to the hardworking men and women who serve as the unseen backbone of public safety, our dispatchers, call takers, and teletype operators. Every day, these dedicated professionals answer the call, literally, serving as the vital link between the public and first responders. Whether it's a distress call in the middle of the night, a life-threatening emergency, or simply someone needing guidance in a moment of crisis, they are always there, providing calm, clear, and life-saving assistance. Their work often goes unnoticed, but today and throughout the week, we take the time to acknowledge their commitment, professionalism, and the critical role they play in keeping our communities safe. It is a job that requires not only technical skill, but also compassion, resilience, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. I want to express my deepest gratitude to all telecommunications personnel for their service and dedication. Your work truly makes a difference in countless lives, and this proclamation is a well-deserved recognition of your efforts. Thank you to the City of Northport for this proclamation and for highlighting the importance of National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. Let us continue to support and appreciate these essential individuals, not just today, but every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
everything you do.
Thank you for
guys
everything. You
are
guys are
awesome.
rock
Thank you
stars,
so
man.
much.
I've seen you holding up a sign last
Oh,
night.
yes.
Good job.
It was
Good
terrific.
job.
Thank you so much. What a great.
We got National Volunteer Week presented to the City of Northport Police Department. So Deputy Chief, who all you want here? Well, there she is. Come on, Dan. Behave yourself. Whereas Florida Volunteer Month and National Volunteer Week was established in April as the official time to recognize and celebrate the effort of volunteers at the local, state, and national levels. And whereas volunteerism strengthens communities, improves social problems, enhances the overall quality of life for all citizens, including children, seniors, those who are disabled, impoverished, imprisoned, homeless, physically or mentally ill, or otherwise in need of assistance. And whereas volunteering changes the lives of volunteers in a positive way, increasing self-confidence, esteem, physical well-being, offering the chance to meet new friends and providing opportunities to learn new skills and abilities. And whereas volunteerism is proven to have a positive influence on businesses that are socially responsible, increasing employee morale, loyalty and teamwork, and building goodwill towards company. And whereas nonprofits, charities, community and faith-based groups, schools, and national service programs in the city of Northport have joined together with state and local governments in celebration and praise of volunteers who have given tirelessly and selflessly to the service of others. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim this month of April 2025 and the week April 27th through May 4th, 2025, excuse me, as Florida Volunteer Month and National Volunteer Week.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shelby Mendelson, and I am the Recreation Manager for Northport Parks and Recreation. Today, we would like to recognize the dedication and hard work of our outstanding volunteers. Through the City of Northport's Adopt a Park program, individuals, businesses, and groups can partner with the Parks and Recreation Department to help maintain and care for our beautiful neighborhood parks, facilities, and nature trails. Volunteers play a vital role in keeping our city's public spaces clean, safe, and welcoming for all. Whether it's park cleanup or simply keeping an eye out for anything unusual, their contributions make a lasting impact. Today, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to the Environmental Conservancy of Northport and Making Florida Dreams, whose dedication has gone above and beyond. Together, their 32 volunteers contributed nearly 75 hours of service to Oaks Park, Atwater Park, Meakahatchee Creek Environmental Park, and the Meakahatchee Creek Greenway Trail. Your time, effort, and passion for our community do not go unnoticed. Because of you, these spaces remain places of recreation and connection for all. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, we sincerely thank you for your generosity and commitment to keeping our parks thriving.
The Northport Police Department also has volunteers. There's none here because we keep them working. No time to come to this. But we have 25 volunteers that mainly help in the police department, but also help out with the other parts of our city for events and things like that. And just in the past year, they've done over 1,600 hours of volunteer work for our city. And the stuff that they do is so meaningful to what we do. Sensitive materials, running transmittals. It saves not only our city just an unbelievable amount of money, but they're really there to pick up the slack for a lot of things that we do. So they're just unbelievably valued. And these are things like calling our Hearts, people who sign up for our Hearts program, which we help with seniors who don't have anybody to call and talk to.
And these are things that if we didn't have the volunteers, it's difficult to give to staff members. So they're just so appreciative, and they deserve every recognition that we could possibly give them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Volunteer.
Thank you for
Helps me
everything you
out.
do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor, Crime Weeks, you're up. Let's see who we got here. Presented to Autumn Rapola.
Is there an Autumn Rapola? Rapola? Okay, which one are you? No. Whereas crime affects individuals, families, and communities in a profound and varied ways, often leaving lasting physical, emotional, and social challenges. And whereas the concept of kinship underscores the connections that build bridges to support services and shared strength among survivors, advocates, and communities. And whereas kinship is the foundation of victim advocacy, inspiring trauma-informed care that meets survivors where they are, and whereas through kinship, we build peer networks and community alliances that empower survivors, foster resilience, and offer pathways to healing. And whereas kinship reminds us of the strength that comes from connection, the importance of listening to every voice, and the power we have to create lasting change when we work together. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 6th through April 12th, 2025 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week.
My name is Autumn Rapola. I'm the Victim Advocate Supervisor at the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office, and on behalf of the Victim Advisory Council and all crime victims, we thank you for making next week National Crime Victim Rights Week. On Friday, April 11th at 8 a.m., Rothenbach Park will be hosting a walk for victims. It's like a 3-mile-ish walk. It's very beautiful out there, so we welcome all of you to join us in that effort. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Laxon, last but not least.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor and a privilege for me to call down Edie Driest. And do we have some representatives of Friends of Wildlife who come with you? Great. Whereas in 2016, the Northport Friends of Wildlife proposed to the City of Northport that there be a day set aside for recognition of the gopher tortoise. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Latin name of the gopher tortoise. And whereas April 10th was officially adopted as the Gopher Tortoise Council as Gopher Tortoise Day, and whereas in Florida, gopher tortoises are found in parts of all 67 counties and are frequently encountered in neighborhoods, along roadways, and in many of Florida's public parks and forests. And whereas the gopher tortoise has been living on the earth for 500,000 to 2 million years, and whereas the gopher tortoise today is in the state of Florida listed as threatened, and in parts of the U.S. is federally listed as threatened, And whereas the gopher tortoise is considered a keystone species because they dig burrows, and whereas the gopher tortoise's burrow protects more than 360 other commensal species, some of which are also listed as threatened, and whereas the gopher tortoise habitat needs protection, and whereas having gopher tortoise and other species in our area helps to sustain the area's ecology and provides people with a source of joy and appreciation for nature. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 10th, 2025 as Gopher Tortoise Day.
So I have some good news here. A year or so ago, the Wildlands Conservation Group started up an initiative that the state of Florida then could have a license on our plates, on our cars. So this should be available in about 6 months, so they say. What they had to say is these plates are now being manufactured and will be available at your local tax collector's office for pickup soon. Wildlands Conservation will post more information about this with the instructions on exchanging your current plate with the new license plate. And by the way, Northport Friends of Wildlife has a website, and you can find the information there too about these plates. And then the question would be, well, where's the money going that is collected when these plates are being purchased? Well, that money will go to Wildlands Conservation, and they will be funding research, education, and conservation for upland habitat, which is what these critters like, for restoration and management in Florida to benefit this tortoise and other species.
My name is Jennifer Kritzier. I'm an ecological consultant, authorized gopher tortoise agent, and a member of Northport Friends of Wildlife. I'm thrilled to be here to mark Gopher Tortoise Day. With our new environmental permitting resources team that we have in Northport, we've got a fresh chance to balance development and conservation, ensuring projects that help protect this threatened species and its habitat. I would love to see a local tortoise-friendly yard program that mirrors what the FWC offers on a limited basis every year. I would also love to see an updated plant list for our developers, because I have it on good faith that the builders don't really care what they put in, so we might as well put in what our tortoise and commensals like to enjoy. They make better neighbors than some people, so I'd like to keep them up. Let's celebrate by committing to smart permitting and habitat preservation, because together we can keep our county thriving for both the wildlife and the people.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that I'm Dr. Greg Mason, professor at FSW in Punta Gorda. But for the last 5 years, we've been working closely with the Northport High School here. We have a poster, an action contest on the gopher tortoise. So the students are educated about what it means to be threatened and to be a keystone species. The last few years, we've expanded it beyond the gopher tortoise to any species in Florida that is threatened and perhaps endangered and maybe a keystone species itself, including plants. So last year we had 165 entries. And this year, Stefan is going to be our main judge.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Stefan Califf, Natural Resources Division Manager with the City of Northport. And I wanted to say that I am excited to celebrate April 10th as Gopher Tortoise Day. I think that's a wonderful accomplishment and effort. A few words about my team. We safeguard Gulf tortoises through a detailed permitting process that includes preliminary and follow-up inspections, all while respecting private property development rights. And sometimes this is not easy. We also collaborate closely with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and many other groups and entities. Today, we celebrate this keystone species, the Gulf tortoise, and honor advocates like the Northport Friends of Wildlife. Their tireless work reminds us of the shared responsibility we all have to protect our natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love those little critters. That's wonderful. I've been known to pull over and escort off the road.
Don't mess with that. I was protecting you. Yes.
All righty, folks. Any public comments, sir?
No, sir.
We have no public comments at this point. It is 4:45. There's nothing else to this business. I adjourn this meeting.